Welcome to the Self Revolution podcast. This is your weekly reminder to wake up to who the fuck you really are. I'm your host, Breanna Rae Blaney, and it is truly my honor to guide you on this journey of self-revolution and evolution. Join me as one by one, we collectively wake up to create a more harmonious, enlightened, and fulfilled world. Welcome back to the Self Revolution podcast. I hope you are having an incredible day, and I am so grateful that you are choosing to spend your time here with me. If you are navigating a transition in your life, or you've recently been through a big change, or a lot of things maybe have moved or are different, or you have consistently kind of resisted change in your past, then this is going to be a really supportive episode for you. Personally, I've been through a lot of changes in my life recently, and it has, just caused me to kind of reflect on what, it really means to go through some of these big transitions and how you can use change as an opportunity to really cultivate the things that you want to in life, and how embracing change ultimately helps you fulfill your full potential in life. So today, we're going to be talking about the nature of change, the nature of impermanence, how it's something that really is ever present in life. We'll dive into the concepts of attachment and detachment and talk about some of the yogic perspective on how you can really use change as an opportunity for growth in your life, and how embracing change really is a very important principle to really being able to navigate your life with more ease and more flow. And we'll end with some tactical steps that you can take to really start to embrace change in your own life. So why is it so tough for us to change? I think that all of us have probably experienced at one point and another some sort of resistance to change. And it's a natural part of being human in many ways, because change can be scary, right? There is a fear of the unknown, and our bodies are hardwired in many ways to keep us safe. So if we're doing something and changing and moving ourselves out of a routine that there's perceived safety and comfort in, our bodies, are naturally hardwired to default to the more comfortable choice. And often that means not changing, even if it's really important for us to change. I don't know about you, but I've definitely experienced, these times in my life where I knew that the right decision was to change something more drastically, but I felt resistant to that, and I had to kind of overcome that resistance to actually make the change. Personally, my partner and I have been going through a big evolution in our relationship. And in many ways that it has been challenging. It's been scary to face that change, but we get to choose, how we shape our relationship with that change. And we've really tried to view the change in our relationship that we've been moving through from a lens of opportunity and ability to reshape kind of a new chapter for ourselves. And so hopefully some of these things that we'll be talking about today will allow you to do the same in your own life. Often we like to think that the things in our lives that we feel comfortable are actually not really changing. But the truth of the matter is that every minute of every single day you are evolving, you are changing. The cells in your body are moving, and everything around you is changing. Nothing is really static. It's said that every 7 years, every single cell in your body is completely different. So basically every 7 years, you're a completely different human being, which is pretty fascinating to think about, that your physical body is completely different. And so this idea that we can, be static, or we can live in a world without change, isn't really a reality. So the only option that we really have is to embrace change and to use it as something that can be a catalyst for our growth. When I was 22 years old, I was experiencing a big transition time in my life. I had recently graduated college and I had broken up with my boyfriend and I was living alone for the first time. And I had just recently started studying yoga, and I was looking back in my journal around, things that I had written around change and impermanence. And this little journal entry came up, which is very relevant to the topic at hand today. And my wise 22-year-old self said, we are in a constant state of flux. You can never quite be sure what tomorrow holds or what lies around the corner. At first, this may be a difficult concept to grasp or accept, but I find almost all of us at one point or another have experienced a sudden change that leads us to this conclusion. Everything is impermanent. Our body, our job, our friends, our family, our home, they are all impermanent. One day we will die. Our friends and family will die. We will change jobs. We will move. These things we hold dearest to us, even our own life, are all impermanent. This has led me to two conclusions: the recognition that attachment causes suffering and the essentialness of being present. And I loved reading this and just acknowledging my younger self for her wisdom. And these are really the two things that we're going to be talking about today as the things that can be really supportive have been supportive in my journey and can hopefully be supportive in your journey as you think about navigating change, working with the concept of attachment and detachment, and also really remaining present. So the root of resistance to change is really attachment, right? When you think about why you are likely resisting change in your life, it's because you are feeling attached to the comfort or to the things that you've become really accustomed to doing. And the Yoga Sutras are very clear about how attachment causes suffering. And when we really grip onto these things in our life, that's what causes us to suffer. And you can think about this at really all layers of your life. But I know when I think about the times that I really resist something, it's because I'm like gripping onto it so tight. And if you grip onto anything really tightly, like what happens? It withers away. Even a plant, if you squeeze leaves or you squeeze anything too tightly and you're just gripping and you're holding on for your dear life, well, that generally causes things to die. And if you can create more space and openness and acceptance and letting things kind of have that room to breathe, then it allows more kind of life force and energy to move through. And from the yogic view, these same kind of attachments in a physical form, where we may be attached to some of these things outside of ourselves, whether it be our relationship or the material goods that we have in our home, our cars, the purses, whatever it may be. These things also exist in your mind. And this is really where, your conditioned kind of consciousness comes from, is from this past patterning. We get really used to doing something in the same way. And so it can be really hard to change that behavior. So some things that we may be doing in our lives, or we've got a consistent routine or habit, like our morning practice or eating really healthy foods, that could be creating conditions that are really positive for your growth. But there could also be these patterns that may not be so supportive for your growth. And so in order to really evolve your consciousness, you have to start being able to become aware of where is this patterning in my life and how can you create patterns and routines that are more supportive for you and ultimately kind of release those. So from a Vedic view, the word for this patterning or these conditionings, they're called samskaras. These are these impressions and these grooves that are left in your mind. So much of the practice of yoga is about becoming aware of these grooves, of these samskaras, and releasing our attachment to them. and detaching from them so that they don't hold on to us so tightly, that they don't grip our consciousness so tightly, so we have more of an ability to see things clearly. Another analogy is you can kind of think about these as like grooves in the road. If you're driving your car down the road and there's a big ditch, your tire is going to get stuck in that groove because the groove is really deep. Yet if you fill up the pavement and that groove, you've lessened your attachment to it, then the car wheel can drive smoothly and see clearly. And the same thing is true with your mind. When you release your attachments to these things in your life, you're going to be able to be more flexible and to embrace change in a easier way, in a way that is more supportive for you in your life. So this choice and this invitation is to really begin to identify and understand where you are gripping, where you're really attached to certain things in your life, and where you may be able to actually begin to cultivate this practice of detachment and this practice of letting go. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I think of this episode, it's fall. So it's almost this kind of season of letting go and this season of change. And so for me, I think it's just a beautiful time to be like the leaves. Where can you let go and kind of loosen the grip and the attachment to things in your life so that you can start to see the road more clearly. And ultimately, that really is the practice of meditation in many ways, is being able to start to have a greater of awareness and build new pathways, in your mind so that you're able to have more of that flexibility and more detachment there. The second piece is the aspect of presence and being able to detach again from the past and the future to be more in the present moment. So when you're thinking about change in your own life, so much of the resistance of change can be because you're stuck in the past and you're really focused on attachment to wishing that your life or wanting your life to be like something that you've experienced in the past. And this was why it can be really hard for relationships to evolve in many ways, is because we, get so attached to what that relationship felt like at one time. Maybe you've been through a honeymoon phase in your relationship and you feel really attached to your relationship, like wanting to feel like that again. And this is the trap. The trap is that your relationship will never likely feel exactly like that again, because you are an ever-changing human being and your partner is too. And so the alternative to that is to actually embrace the fact that both of you are changing. And how can you begin to cultivate a new dynamic here in the present moment that is going to be more supportive for you and re-envision what you want your future together to actually look like. When you're thinking about, actually implementing this in your day-to-day life, I think a lot of this can maybe feel a bit ethereal at times. And it's like, okay, yes, cultivate detachment in my life or be present. But it really is a daily practice. And all of these things, it requires, like I like to say, alignment and action, or mindset and action, where you are cultivating a mindset and a belief system that's supportive for you, but then you're also taking action on a day-to-day basis to bring these things into your life. So I'll leave you with a few ideas around how you can begin to embrace change this fall. The first example or tool that I've used in my life has been to continuously cultivate new experiences. So what can you do on a daily basis is actually create new experiences for yourself. What's one new thing that you can do this week or this month that maybe is a little bit outside of your comfort zone? Maybe that is starting a new project or going to an art class or cooking something you've never done before. It can be a small step, something just like that, even taking a new route to work. that switches up your behavioral pattern and allows some of those new neural pathways to form, and kind of loosens the grip on the samskaras and those deeply kind of rooted or deeply held beliefs. Or maybe it is detaching from your clothes in the closet, or kind of doing a fall clear out where you actually allow yourself to detach from some of the things that maybe you've been holding on or gripping to really strongly. I know that I certainly have pieces of clothes in my closet that I never wear, but I'm simply holding on to them because I feel like they have some sort of, value to me, or I just don't want to let them go for no real apparent reason. And this is an opportunity where I could say, okay, hey, I'm going to detach from those things. I don't necessarily need them. They're not supporting me in my life anymore, or not really adding, a ton of value, and maybe they'd be more valuable to someone else. The last piece is to just really start building trust in yourself and bring more of a playful attitude to life. I think that so much of the time we can take change so seriously. And I know through the evolution of my relationship with my partner, there's been a lot of heavy moments. And so much of that can feel so serious, and change can feel so serious, but it can also feel really playful and fun and light and joyful and exciting. And so my, invitation would just be to ask, where in your life can you bring more joy and play and fun to some of these transitions that may be a little heavier, or you might feel some resistance around. Can it turn on your favorite song, dance, and kind of move through it in that way and bring more lightness and joy? The final note I will leave you with is this question of, if everything in your life is constantly changing, if we as human beings are constantly changing, what then is observing the change? And this is a very fundamental question in yoga, is to start to recognize and realize who is behind all of this change. And from a Vedic perspective, this would be, your true self and your true nature, this presence, this place, this source, the observer that's really there, that is there witnessing the change. And when you can start to really ask yourself that question, and to understand and maybe recognize and start to build a relationship with that observer, and acknowledge that as your true self versus, these things that are changing, like your body, even your mind and your thoughts, that becoming one with the changeless observer there is really what brings ultimate peace and contentment in life. And it's also what really seeds the utmost fulfillment in life. And so I'll just leave you there with that seed, much more to dive into on that topic. So thank you so much again for being here with me today. I hope you have a fabulous fall and are walking away with some tools to think about the opportunity that change really presents, and how you can cultivate detachment and presence in your life to allow change to really be this source of opportunity in your daily experience. So thank you so much again. If you found this episode supportive for you, I'd be so grateful if you share it with a friend and leave a review, and I will see you again soon. Thank you.